What's up gamers, Dreamcastguy here, and I just got to play Super Smash Bros. Ultimate on the Nintendo Switch, and I can say that it completely exploded my brain because it was way better than I ever could have thought. After some of the initial teases that we saw back at Electronic Entertainment Expo and during Nintendo Directs, I wasn't completely won over because it didn't look different. To me, it seemed to be just another sequel in the Smash franchise that didn't really seem to be trying to reinvent stuff, and I can say that I was actually completely mistaken. This game feels completely new. I mean, every character I played at every stage I played on feels 100% different. So I bet you're wondering how the heck I played this game so early. Well, there was a special event over at Best Buy in Dallas, Texas, and so since I wanted to make sure that I was going to be one of the few people who got to play this, I ended up showing up 3 hours early and standing outside in the freezing rain at dawn. And I have to say, it was totally worth it because once I got hands on time, it is miraculous. So basically what this demo was is everybody who was in line got to play a couple rounds of free-for-all matches. 4 players all beating the crap out of each other and timed. So it meant that basically you were trying to be dropped into an arena and just beat each other up, and whoever got the most kills and least deaths, of course, was the winner. And lucky enough, that was me. I am a very, very good Smash player simply because so many of my good friends are obsessed with tournament level Smash. So anytime they're training, it ends up just by accident that I'm having to play with these people who are way better than I am. So when I got in there and started using Link, I immediately noticed that he feels really, really buffed. He is a lot stronger. In the opening matches, I was going against the new Splatoon character, Solid Snake, and I think there was Pichu in there. I'll show footage of all this. And it was so cool because everybody seems like they work a lot differently, but starting out, let me talk about Link. Link is definitely able to do a lot more Smash damage, and it seems like his range has been gently extended because this is actually the Breath of the Wild Link. Something else that was strange is that I noticed that I was not able to just throw my bombs in the typical sense. Since you have the special remote explosives from Breath of the Wild, I couldn't just throw them and then wait a second for them to detonate. I would actually have to manually detonate them by punching. Talking about some of the other characters though, Splatoon, the Splatoon girl is very, very quick, but seems to be much more of like a mid-range basher. She was able to basically put this ink on the ground that would slow you down and do extra damage, but really, she was somebody who just kept trying to slip back and forth, and it was really hard to try and just get her down unless I managed to corner her. She was actually, in both of my matches, only one person ever managed to do a final smash, and it was her. And when she unleashed it, it was a giant laser beam that demolished us. It was basically, it felt like a giant ink windshield wiper slowly pushing us off the map. And it was so cool to see the fact that everybody feels very, very new. Specifically, the one that definitely shocked me the most, because it is something that I've never seen anything even remotely close to, was the way Ridley fights. So in my second match, I decided to try and play as Marth, somebody I'm not particularly skilled with, but I wanted to see some of his changes. And in general, he feels like a completely new person. He's a lot more, it feels sort of like a grappler with a lot of like a lot of techniques that are made to get in people's faces. I could still do a lot of smash attacks that felt like a lot of his forward A and up A felt exactly the way it did in the last game, but now a lot of his B attacks felt a lot more like they're trying to be perfectly aimed to deal massive damage. He's somebody who definitely takes a lot more skill to play. But when I was going against Ridley, Ridley had a lot of really powerful grabs and stab moves, and it seemed like whenever she was getting a big crit or something, the screen for a second would keep zooming in on her, and it was one of those things that made it where you kept trying to worry about where Ridley was on the map. She is a power character. It feels almost like a faster way of playing Bowser, where Bowser was always able to dish out some serious punishment, but part of his skill was the fact that he could take a punch, whereas Ridley doesn't seem to be able to take a tremendous amount of damage before she goes flying off the track, but is able to really, really get people, grab them, and rip their throats out. Now, both the courses are something I want to talk about real quick. because I find them very, very unique. So the first one we played on was the Breath of the Wild Tower, and it constantly falls apart and rebuilds itself into different phases. So starting out, it looks like just a normal area, and it has basically a very short roof. And I couldn't tell if we were causing it or the game does it naturally, but it sort of seemed like every time I smashed people into the roof, it would cause tiny cracks or little bits of damage here and there. And then, as we weakened it enough, it eventually collapsed down on top. And when it does, it ends up making it where the stage changes. When it falls, though, I will say this is one thing I didn't like. When it falls, for about 3 or 4 seconds, you're essentially blinded. It takes up the entire center part of the stage, and you can walk through the rubble, but there's no visibility, which meant that if I was in there, and I knew that somebody else like Solid Snake was in there with me, as I was trying to fight him, I would be essentially just grabbing and smashing completely with no line of sight. But then, when it starts reappearing, it actually made different styles of platform. And I thought this was cool because it made it where it felt like a nice mix of, it's not something that's going to evolve as much as like the F-Zero stage will, but it's something that will feel a little bit different as time goes on. In this, they definitely showed us a ton of stages during the demo. Like, it looked like there were about 40 stages that were selectable of the final 108. But I do think that I enjoyed slightly more the Splatoon stage, simply because it was very, very large in a way I haven't seen in a long time. It's basically completely vertical. There's not a lot of room to go left or right, as I'm sure you're seeing in this gameplay, but it gave you a lot of times to climb up and go down, and you could just fall or jump through the platforms wherever you wanted, and it was very, very nice. I just want to say real quick, all the gameplay you're seeing, by the way, the Nintendo people kept yelling at my cameraman that he had to film somebody's shoulder. Somebody had to be slightly in front of the gameplay. They didn't want just the screen. So if you're seeing a little bit of like hats and hair, he was literally required by Nintendo to do that. I really like the fact that everybody seems to be very much tweaked to have lots more dramatic strengths and weaknesses. Like, when I was going against Ryu, Street Fighter is obviously a really cool game, but when I was having to go against Ryu, I noticed that his stuff, it felt like he was incredibly tightened up as a character. In Smash 4, he sort of felt like a novelty person. Like, he could fight good, and if you were skilled with him, it was amazing, but it definitely seemed like they put him in there just for the quirkiness of having a fighting game character in a different style of fighting game. But now, he actually seems to behave much more closely to the way he does in Street Fighter V. He was really, really brutal, and a lot of his attacks felt much more instantaneous. When this dude was like uppercutting me or trying to do like a roll throw, I was actually afraid of him. It definitely made it where I wanted to try and keep him in the air as much as humanly possible, simply in an effort to try and stop this guy. I like the way everybody plays, and I can say that I'm definitely super, super hyped for it. Although I only got to play it for like 10, 15, 20 minutes or whatever, it's now something that feels much more like the fighting game I've always wanted. It's balanced, it's chaotic, it's such a frenzy of motion, but simultaneously, everything is very easy to track. You are not lost no matter the amount of giant super moves that are going off. You know what you're doing, you know where you're going, and you know what you need to do next. And for that, I'm actually super, super excited to try the full game now. When I was actually talking about this on Twitter, somebody specifically asked the question, does it seem like this game is overhyped? And now I can say absolutely not. I understand why Nintendo has been coming out and showing it over and over again, and it's because they understand that this game is going to be a freaking mammoth. I think millions of people are going to end up buying Switches just to play this game, and that's kind of freaking mind-blowing. I'm so happy I've tried it, and now I'm ready to freaking review the full game, so I gotta go freaking do that. Thank you so much for watching this video. I do want to say 2 really quick special thank yous at the end of this video. Number 1, there was a super nice guy in the line who's a subscriber. He loves watching Spawn Wave. He had a shirt on of Wood from Beat 'em Ups. He was talking about how much Sean from RGT85 cracks him up. He actually let me stand under his umbrella for all the times we were in line. So for 3 hours, I'm literally as dry as I am right now because of that incredibly nice guy. So Sterling, you are an awesome dude. Seriously, you and your daughter were hilarious. hilarious. I appreciate you guys playing with me. That was super cool. And the other person I want to thank is, of course, my cameraman, Sadiq. Thanks so much, man. I'm actually going to link his Instagram in the description box just because, seriously, I could not have done this without his help. But yes, I'm excited. Thanks to everybody who was a fan who walked up and said, hey, this was a fun day. And I'm going to go back to playing some older Smash just to try and scratch that itch until we wait for December. Thanks so much for watching, guys. You rock. Please give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Woo! Excuse all the thank yous. This has just been such a freaking fun day. I'm so happy. I mean, Nintendo is just killing it. We may not have had the ton of Switch games this year, but at least the ones we're getting are epic. Oh, hey. I was just playing a little bit of Grand Theft Auto on my Darth Vader PSP. Are you curious what I'm going to come out with next? Well, if you click this button, you'll be subscribed to be the first to know. Also, if you click over here and here, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. I promise, it was super good. Or it was really bad and I'm sure you can just make fun of me in the comments. Either way, it'll be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching.